Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Try saying that 3 times fast. ALS, as we most commonly call it. Others call it Lou Gehrig's disease. We'll find out more about it and how it has affected the life of one spectacular person. Hello, welcome to Wordnet. I'm your host, Jack Knight. Our guest today is, let's see, what would you call her? Graphic artist and a lady with a wonderful, encouraging story to tell. Sally Storch. Sally, so nice to have you with us.
Nice to be here,
What
Jack.
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Sally and I were talking before the show about what kind of an artist she was. What medium do you generally work in?
I'm actually not a graphic artist.
Uh-huh.
I'm a fine artist, which
There's a real distinction
there
between the two.
there is. I'm a painter.
And what media? What
Oil.
Oil? Mm-hmm. Boy, that's hard. I recall a trip to Germany, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get some watercolors and paint this bridge in Heidelberg. Ever hear forced perspective?
Yes, I have.
Well, I'm telling you, you couldn't force perspective on me in those days at all.
Do you still have the painting?
I don't have it. I wish I did, to say, see how lousy I was? Mm-hmm. So what got you interested in painting in the first place?
I think that it was in high school. I just started in, and I actually sold my first painting when I was a senior to a teacher for $5, and I thought that was really something when I was in high school.
You went to Catholic high school?
I did. I went to Cornelia Conley High School in Anaheim.
Uh-huh.
And it was a wonderful place. I didn't want to go.
Uh-huh.
Wanted to go to the public school.
Right.
And my parents said, go for 1 year and see how you like it. And the end of the first year, I loved it and made friends that are still my friends today.
That's great.
So it was a great experience.
Now, painting is sometimes expensive, mm-hmm. sometimes very demanding on concentration and time. Mm-hmm. How did you balance painting with the rest of your life?
It wasn't easy, especially I have 3 boys. And when my husband became ill, it was really hard because he had a hard time painting. He's also a painter. He was also a painter. So I remember I'd put them to bed, and my studio was in my house. And I would walk, I was exhausted, and I'd walk, and I could turn right and go into the bedroom, or left and go into my studio. If I turned right, I would I would fall asleep. If I turned left, I was good for 3 or 4 more hours, honestly. So I loved that, and I think looking back, it was probably a place that I could go and work things out.
I can relate to that. Mm-hmm. As an athlete, I was a professional athlete for a long time. And if my leg was broken and my arm was falling off, mm-hmm. and I had a bad sunburn and a blister, I would still go play
right.
ball.
Mm-hmm.
So when that passion is so strong.
I was going to say the passion word.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how old were you when you married?
I was 27, 28.
So you had gone to college?
I had.
And
I
finished
majored in fine art at school. And then I taught art to high school kids for 1 year and thought, I like teaching, but I don't think I'm ready at my age to do this for a lifetime. I'm going to try being a painter.
When did you started feeling that I'm successful, I should keep doing this because I love it and it's worthwhile?
It wasn't me. It was my husband, who we met at the Laguna Festival of Art, and we were both exhibitors there. And he encouraged me to paint for a living, and he was going to do it too.
Richard Bunkall.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And he is recognized as a very talented painter. As a matter of fact, I want to show our audience this book, which shows most of his work, is a tome. I'm going to be really happy to spend some time with this. Now, So you're married and you have 3 children, a set of twins?
Twins and then another little one, and they're all boys.
All boys. Mm-hmm. 2 more, you had a basketball team.
Yes, I was told that, but I think my hands were full at that time with the 3.
So balancing the 3 things, husband, children, and art. So at what point in your marriage did your husband become ill with ALS?
I can't even think how long we'd been married, but things were going so well, and we had just bought our dream house. We couldn't believe we had gotten to this point, and I was pregnant with the little one. I was about 6 months pregnant, and I'll never forget it. We were sitting on the front porch, and I said, we did it. And we prayed together. It was so good. And then he said, I have this funny thing going on in my left foot, and I can't lift it. And I thought, oh, it's a pinched nerve. We weren't concerned about it, but it kept happening. And I think it went on and on for about 6 or 8 months. And my brother, who's a physician, looked at me and he said, you got to get that checked out. So we did. And my timing's off because when we heard he had ALS, I was about 8.5 months pregnant. So it was a shock. It was shocking.
Not to mention what a game changer it must have been.
I think it was almost out of body experience. And we were at the neurologist's office and he told us, and I knew it was bad. I didn't know until he started explaining there's no cure. And you probably have 3 to 5 years to live. And I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to do. On the ride home, he was stoic, and the only thing I could do is pick up my Bible. And I'm telling you, I held that Bible for about 3 weeks in my arms. I never put it down. That's all I had. And that gave me comfort.
Let's talk a little bit more about ALS, because most people, they hear that big, long, technical name, and Lou Gehrig, what happened? Did he get hit by a baseball?
Right.
What was the story? So tell us pretty much succinctly what it entails.
It is, it's funny you say that, because when the neurologist told us what he had, I'd heard of it, I knew it was bad. I didn't know how bad, but it's motor neurons, basically, that stop working. So it's a muscular disease, and it can start in your throat, it can start in your legs, in your hands, you just don't know. It is not painful, and you don't go numb. But if he wanted to lift his hand, his brain can't tell his hand to lift. So it's loss of muscle is what it is.
Would there be spontaneous movements that
No.
he couldn't control?
No. And really, everybody thought he was in pain. It isn't pain, it's just that you can't do it, you can't move. You're in a prison. The body becomes a
That's
prison.
painful enough.
Yeah.
So now you've got to take care of a man who can't take care of himself. And you did most of that yourself?
I did quite a bit of it, and then we had his assistant who assisted him with his artwork and organizing him, turned into a caretaker. And I was so blessed to have this woman. She was amazing, and we're still very close, good friends to this day. And she loved him, we all loved, him, and she really helped him, and she was strong, and she could even lift him at the end. So somehow you look back and the whole thing works.
Were you able to find some assistance from family or friends with the situation?
Yes, my family was terrific, and my mother especially was. My dad had passed away, but it was just shocking. And really, I have to say, for the first year, I was not a great example. Even though I was spiritual and I would pray, I was worried and weak and fearful. And Richard was the one that sat me down, and he said, I'm going to die. It's not about us anymore. It's about these 3 boys. And this can be the best years. These can be the best years of our life. Let's make it that. And I remember thinking, he's right. It's a choice of how to treat it and how to. So at that point, for him, I think I changed. And it really was. When he died, he said it was the best years of his life, those last few years.
I can fully understand that. I have two boys, 2 years apart. And I can recall incidents after incidents, when they were 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, happiest days.
Right.
We used to go to the little gym I made on the porch. And it had a mat and a climbing thing and rings and a rope you could climb. And they put cardboard up on top and they would sleep up there and all that.
Yeah.
And on the mat, I'd grab them and I'd say, I have something for you. It sounds like a nickel. It sounds like a pickle. What is it? And I'd start to tickle them.
Oh, that's.
Oh, hysterical.
Right.
So in the face of adversity, you found strength from your Bible, from God, and from your husband himself.
He was amazing. And I have to say that I don't, you can ask anybody, never one complaint. Never.
When he told you that these were the best years of his life, reminds us, and we talked about this before the show, about Lou Gehrig, when it was revealed to the nation and the team and all of that, that he didn't have long. He said, a lot of people think I had a tough break, but today I consider myself, in his vernacular New Yorkie, the happiest man on earth.
I love seeing that clip.
Yeah.
It's always wonderful.
True.
But it is true, and I received strength from the Bible, but I wasn't acting it out. And when Richard asked me to get on board, I did.
Through this time, were you still painting?
Yes, I was trying.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to make it as normal as we could, and he continued to paint up until the very end.
Really?
Yeah, he did. For some reason, he was gifted by God that he could, his left shoulder worked and his right hand. So he would lift his hand like this and he was able to paint. And he told a friend of ours that what used to take him 3 minutes to paint now took him all day, 1 day.
So now your children are growing up without their dad, and you've got those great memories. You're going on with your work and relishing what he contributed to your art, how you balanced each other. What was it like with 3 kids and the tough time?
It's interesting to look back, and I think the diagnosis of the disease was the worst day when I look back. Because we kind of backed up from there, and he was sick for 5 years, and in those 5 years, for some reason it got easier because we had time to talk, we had time to discuss the boys, our future, what it was going to be like. We lined up all the ducks, in other words. And by the time he died, I think there was a relief because he suffered at the end. I mean, he couldn't sit up, he couldn't eat, he couldn't. So I think we were relieved it was time for him to go.
We'll be back with Sally Storch and her remarkable story in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
There are times we are joyful and happy. There are also times when we are sad and depressed. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. Sometimes we become angry. Sometimes we are calm and reflective. Yes, we are emotional people. Often we express our emotions loud and clear, but sometimes we suppress and keep them to ourselves. Our wounded emotions need to be healed to enable us to live normally. We want to offer you a book written by Father Martin Padovani, SVD. It is called Healing Wounded Emotions. Father Martin is a marriage counselor, and this book is the result of his many years of experience. Some of the topics he deals with in this book are anger with other people, anger with ourselves, and even anger with God. But what about forgiveness? Forgiveness of someone that has hurt us, and even forgiveness of ourselves. Then there is the emotion of depression. We know that today there are many who are living with the shadow of depression and they do not know how to get out of it. Father Martin gives practical solutions to deal with our wounded emotions. So get your copy today. Surely you will be doing yourself a favor. Or maybe you know someone who needs a copy.
Call the number on the screen or email us. You can also get it through our website. Know your emotions and live them to the full. This book will surely give you the peace that you were looking for.
Thanks for staying with us. We're back with Sally Storch, telling her story about how she lost her husband to ALS. And Sally, you find yourself now at the end of 5 years of taking your husband, Richard, and you got the 3 kids, and you find support from your family. And then, not surprisingly, his best friend has offered to be helpful. Tell us about that.
They were best friends. They both taught at Art Center as an art school, and they became very close. And he promised Richard that he would stay there to coach the boys. The boys loved him. And his name is Ray Turner, and he's a painter as well. And he coached them in soccer and baseball. And I noticed when he dropped them off, he would come in and say hi to me. And I never in a million years dreamed. If you had told me this, I never would have believed it. We ended up getting married 2 years later. So it's what a story, because I'm in the same house.
How long now?
17 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, after your husband died and you remarried, what was the relationship between the coach and the kids?
It was a smooth transition, I have to say, just because they knew him, they were used to him, and I got scared because after Richard died, they became attached to him, and I'm thinking, if this isn't going to work out, they've lost 2 big male figures in their life, and when it did work out, it was wonderful. And we were married in the Catholic Church, and they took part in the ceremony, and they call him Dad. There's Daddy in heaven, and there's Dad. So it was smooth.
And what is their station in life right now?
The 3 boys?
Yeah.
There's the twins are as opposite as you. One is a painter living in Los Angeles, and his twin is in the Navy in medical school back in Bethesda in Washington, D.C. So, and we miss him. And then the little one is in technology, which I don't even understand what he does. It's called GIS.
I'm still trying to program my VCR.
No,
so
he fixed my VCR the other day. So, so they're all 3 making their way, shall we say.
Can you tell me if at any point specifically that God had his hand on your shoulder just directing you somehow?
Every minute of every day, 24/7. That's where I went. And gratitude for that. We all have challenges in our life, and so much of it is the choice of how to deal with those challenges, I think.
Yeah. And one of your boys went to a Catholic college?
The twins both went to Boston College, played soccer.
The towers on the heights reach the heavens.
That's
oh,
right.
blue for
Yes.
Boston, for Boston.
They miss Boston. They loved Boston.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Of course, I lived just across the Charles River in Somerville.
I know.
And I knew guys that I grew up with that went to BC. And I always root for Notre Dame. I root for Gonzaga. It's all the Catholic colleges to do well in sports.
Right.
Just because I can brag. Yeah,
it's fun.
I did too.
They had a great time there.
Yeah. If someone to ask you, what kind of painting do you do? The medium is oil. And what genre? We talked about this earlier.
We did. I'm a figurative painter, which means I don't just paint figures, but I paint recognizable scenes. And I think I'm also a narrative painter. So my paintings tell some kind of a story. And we talked about artists.
Yes.
And I think one of my favorite artists and what my paintings probably are the most like is Edward Hopper.
And he's so recognizable. You see a Hopper, you see, I know who that is.
Right. I love his work. And
Yeah.
so he was inspiring to me. And I was explaining to you earlier that sometimes you don't know where you're going with your paintings, but because of your situation, your paintings lead you. So I found myself being drawn to certain things. I still do today, not knowing why am I doing this? What is this about? And then later it's revealed to me. So I just paint where I want to go, I think, or what's in my head, what's in my mind.
Where do you think that revelation comes from?
You mean, what am I thinking now? I'm painting women. I'm painting singular women on a street corner or in a doorway, and I didn't start out that way. I don't know what that's leading to, but I'm really enjoying it.
Tell me about your career now. How is that moving forward? Do you plan to go back to teaching? What are you going to do?
I think I'm still just painting. My big decision is social media these days and how deeply to get into that. It's not my favorite thing to do. I'd rather just be painting, but the necessity of it, as you kind of have to keep your foot in it a little bit for promotion and that kind of thing.
Speaking of promotion, I'll bet you have a website.
I do.
And it shows your stuff.
Yeah, I do, and it's easy. Sally
And we're going to
Storch-
show some too, because
You
we are prepared now to show some of the audience some of your work.
Well, that's very nice.
And
Thank
who
you.
knows, someone come knocking and say, you know that painting about the little thing? I want to have that.
That's nice.
Yeah. The rest of your family, I mean, your mom has passed and your dad?
She will be 98 June 2nd.
God bless her.
Isn't that crazy?
That is
Still
the best.
living in the same house, stubborn, doesn't want to go anywhere, and she is an amazing woman.
I want to be 100.
That's what
Yesterday was my birthday. I was 81. I've got 19 years to go before I'll be on the Today Show.
That's
when
right.
They'll say, and Jack is out there in California.
right.
He's pitching a game at 12 o'clock.
That's right. Doing your interviews, doing your artwork.
Yeah. Well, God has played a great part in my life as well as yours. I'm wondering if I had some terrible thing like what happened to you happen to me, how that might have changed my life. Would I have been bitter? Would I have been angry with God? Did you ever feel anything like that?
I never felt it. I just felt that's where I wanted to go for strength. Because bad things happen to everybody, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone has something to carry. And I think it doesn't do any good to be bitter. And if anything, I wanted to be an example, and for my children and for our friends. And
Yeah.
it was absolutely the worst thing. This man was an amazing man. I adored him. I loved him. I couldn't imagine life without him. But I'm here to say, with God's help, we're doing it.
When the disease was progressing, what were the hardest times for you? Was it seeing him fade? Was it seeing him
Seeing him struggle
struggle?
and not able to do what he loved, which was his work. He still was able to spend time with the little boys, and that was great. They'd crawl up on his hospital bed and they'd watch movies and things like that. But he loved painting and he loved art. And so that hurt, I think, the most. Watching that gift that he had close down.
And did that gift transfer to one boy is a painter?
Yes, he is.
And is he doing the same kind of stuff that his dad do?
Completely not.
Does he follow
No.
anything of the stuff that you
No,
do?
he loves his work. Both husbands are artists, and he loves both of their work, but he's doing something totally different. Big abstract paintings. They're beautiful. They're beautiful.
I marvel at people like those who do those giant murals. There is a famous painter, I think his name is Winan. He does whales.
I
And
know who you
he
mean.
never walks away from the painting. He
Right.
just goes up there and paints it in
And
perspective.
they're gorgeous. I know that.
I want to thank you so much for being here
What a
today.
pleasure to meet you,
Oh, thanks
Jack,
a lot.
and
Thanks a lot.
and,
And
everybody here.
for those in our audience who struggle with things like this, then one thing I know that you would tell them: pick up that Bible, trust in God, because He's going to be there, right there, every step of the way of your journey.
And it's so true. And I didn't plan on doing that. I just went straight to it because that was the comfort. That day, I picked it up, and I had it for years next to me.
I used to, when I was on the road, had go to bed with the rosary around my neck, and so many times I woke up with it in pieces because during the night I had
You're
struggled with
saying
it.
the rosary. I love
Well,
that.
I want to thank Sally Storch for her just remarkable story today. And for those of you out there, when the tough get going, they can overcome everything at all. And I want to close with a prayer. I want to thank our audience out there who have been supporting Wordnet, and people like Sally have shown us the power of God. Amen. God bless you all, and God bless you, and thank you for
Thank you,
being
Jack.
with us.
It's a pleasure.
There are times we are joyful and happy. There are also times when we are sad and depressed. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes we cry. Sometimes we become angry. Sometimes we are calm and reflective. Yes, we are emotional people. Often we express our emotions loud and clear, but sometimes we suppress and keep them to ourselves. Our wounded emotions need to be healed to enable us to live normally. We want to offer you a book written by Father Martin Padovani, SVD. It is called Healing Wounded Emotions. Father Martin is a marriage counselor, and this book is the result of his many years of experience. Some of the topics he deals with in this book are anger, anger with other people, anger with ourselves, and even anger with God. But what about forgiveness? Forgiveness of someone that has hurt us, and even forgiveness of ourselves. Then there is the emotion of depression. We know that today there are many who are living with the shadow of depression, and they do not know how to get out of it. Father Martin gives practical solutions to deal with our wounded emotions. So get your copy today. Surely you will be doing yourself a favor. Or maybe you know someone who needs a copy.
Call the number on the screen or email us. You can also get it through our website. Know your emotions and live them to the full. This book will surely give you the peace that you were looking for.